if you say, for example, if you are addressing a group of people so that they don't chop down trees randomly, recklessly. Okay, maybe you can add a few scientific reports, but then too much of charts, too much of graphs, and this charts, graphs, pie chart, and all these things that will baffle them. So when you are educating an audience, keep in mind that you are educating them. Okay, and entertaining, you can incorporate stories. Your language can be very casual, but then when you are persuading an audience, your language should be formal. Okay, it should be much more structured. So that's how it affects the design, the entire design, the language, the material that you are going to use, all these things. So, and it's also a good practice to write down the purpose in 15 words or in 30 seconds. Why? Because it will give you a clarity, because as I told you, that is the purpose is at the center. It's the same as formal letter. We divided the formal letter based on purpose. Okay, because based on the purpose, the entire structure will change. The purpose is at the center. So same is for presentation. The purpose is at the center, and based on which you can decide you can choose your examples, you can choose your explanation, you can structure it, you can choose your supporting material, even the language. Okay, the language to entertain and the language to persuade is different. So, and it's a good practice, as I told you, to write it in 30 seconds or 15 words, because it's a good practice if you can tell your purpose at the beginning of the presentation in most of the cases. Okay, because your audience will be very clear. They will be kind of prepared. Okay, when you say that, see, I'm here to inform you about this, or maybe here today I'm here to tell you about your syllabus and your exam pattern. So do you understand? Your job is kind of half done, because your audience is kind of prepared. It's good to tell your purpose explicitly. I'm here to speak on this particular social occasion, or maybe to speak on this particular social issue. That's it. So it's clear for you, it's clear for the audience. So both of you start on the same track. So that is about the purpose. And then the next question, so this is the question that you should ask yourself and you should ask the organizer. And then the next important question is about time. How much time will you have to deliver the presentation? Because as I told you, a 5 minutes presentation is different from a 5-hour presentation. Based on that, you will design it, because based on that, your number of slides will change. For a 5 minutes presentation, you can probably have 1 or 2 slides. But then if it's a 5-hour presentation, you can have more number of slides and you have the time to go in detail. If it's a 5 minutes presentation, there is no point showing charts or this bar and pie chart and all these things, because you don't have time to explain all these things. So there you probably have to just speak on the main bullet points of that particular topic. But then if you know that you have 5 hours, you can maybe include examples or charts or research results or survey reports and all these things. So how much time you have, based on that you will decide your speech, you will decide your PPT, and also the design. Okay, if I have 5 minutes, I know that there won't be any question answer session, isn't it? How much? I mean, after 5 minutes presentation, there is hardly any question answer session. So I don't have to think much about the post presentation session. But then if it's a 5-hour presentation, I know that there will be a good number of questions. So based on that, I will have to take preparation. So this question you ask, if someone asks you have to give one presentation, you ask that how much time will I get? 5 minutes, 5 hours, 10 minutes, how much time? And then the next important thing that you should inquire about, you should have information about that who and how many will be in the audience. First thing is that the who will be in the audience, their age, their knowledge base, their exposure. Okay. And how many. It's also very important to know how many will be in the audience. Any idea? Why this how many is important? How does it matter? How many of them? Can you put it in the chat box or use your microphone? That who is in the audience is important. You can understand their age, their understanding, their knowledge base, okay, their exposure. So that's important. But then how many? How is that important? Yes, the more the number, the lower the confidence. So the more amount of effort you will have to put. Important, very, very important. Yes. But then Rajesh, even a less number of people can do the same trick. So you know that there are just 5 people, and you feel very intimidated. And maybe the dynamic of the presentation. Yeah, but then what particular dynamic will be changed? Voice level, sure. More audience, more question and interaction. But then Rakesh, to a large extent, it will also depend on time. Very good for your responses. No, I'm not talking about, Tamalika, the attention of the audience. I'm talking about the number of people present. 5 or 500?
Ma'am, hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, ma'am, the question. Okay, you wrote who and how many. Okay, fine.
Yes.
Fine.
Yes, so I wanted to know why, how many is important. Okay. How addressing 5 people is different from addressing 500 people. So the students have responded. I'll just quickly check their responses. Okay. So Rajesh says more the number, the lower the confidence. Yes, sure. But then imagine, Rajoshi, as I told you, that you are there and then in front of you there are just 5 to 7 people. Even that is very intimidating, isn't it? Because if there are 5 or 7 people, generally they will sit very close, and most of the time they will be attentive because they know that you can't look away from them. If I have 5 people, I'll constantly look at 5 people, isn't it? So there are no chance that I will be looking at to someone else towards the back side or maybe towards the middle row or maybe towards the side. No, so constantly I will be looking at these 5 people. So that also affects your confidence because it becomes too intimidating. But then yes, more number of audience is it actually challenges your confidence because more number of people is judging you. So yes, the number directly affects your confidence. Maybe the dynamic. Okay, I asked Vijay to put it little in clear way. Ankure, the voice level, sure. The voice level, yeah. And Rakesh is more audience, more question and interaction. Yes, but then as I told you, Rakesh, it also depends on the time. If I'm addressing 500 people for 10 minutes, I don't have time for interaction. I hardly have time for interaction, even if there are 500 people. But then yes, it matters, it affects. It's like when teaching 5 students, you can respond to their individual doubts, but when teaching 50 students, individual doubts can be addressed efficiently. Yes, Deepjyoti writes, more number of people, more interaction needed. Yes. So all of you are mostly talking about post-presentation time, isn't it? That how much time, because you will get more number of questions from the audience. True. And someone talked about the voice level, but it will also affect your planning. You know how? Say, for example, I conducted that activity in the last class. You remember I asked you to write the qualities of your best teacher, the qualities of your not so like teacher. And I knew that generally 28 to 30 people attends the class. And I assume that out of this 30 people, 10 to 15 people will respond. Not everyone will respond. Okay, because that is what my understanding from conducting classes. So I know that at the end of the day, I'm going to get 15 questions, 15 responses. So I can ask this question. Imagine it's a class of 500 people. I can't ask this question, maybe. Just a minute. Hold on, sorry. Okay, so if I could conduct that activity, that asking question, that list out the qualities of a good teacher, list out the qualities of a bad teacher, because I knew I had the numbers of the class, because I knew that there are, as I told you, 30 people are there, 10 to 15 people will respond, so I can read 10 to 15 responses, because I actually read your responses. Imagine, remember, isn't it? Imagine it's a 500 student of 500 class. 150 people will at least respond. It's not possible for me to read 150 responses. So I won't incorporate that activity in my presentation. So what will I do? I'll take a vote. If the audience is huge, instead of asking such questions, I'll take a vote. I'll take yes, no type questions. That, do you like this quality? Some people, some students, some people will raise their hand. I'll quickly count it. So do you understand that the kind of activity that we are going to incorporate also depends on the number of audience. Say, for example, if the audience is less, say, for example, 5 or 10 people, because they are, because, you get a very feel of intimacy. It's a very closed group. It's a very small group. For that, maybe you can bring difficult examples, because it's just 5-10 people, you can quickly address each individual. But then if it's a crowd of 500 people, you can't bring difficult examples, because naturally these 500 people won't be on the same line. There will be many variations. So your planning also changes based on the audience, not just, yes, your quality, obviously your confidence for sure, and obviously the time of question and answers. But then before everything starts, it affects the planning phase, when you are thinking that what kind of examples that you can have, what kind of activity you can have. See, if it's a class, if I conduct the same presentation teaching in a class, I probably won't ask you these questions. I'll take a vote. Okay, can you raise your hand if you like this kind of teacher? Okay, how many of you don't like this subject? So people will raise their hand. So for that audience, if the audience is larger, a voting technique is good, a survey technique is good, not from a small audience. So it not only affects during presentation phase in terms of voice and confidence, not only the post presentation phase in terms of question answer session, it also affects the planning phase. What kind of examples you are going to use, what kind of pictures that you are going to use. If it's a small audience, maybe you can use a very intricate picture. You can't use a very intricate picture for a large audience. Okay, so this physical distance, the closeness also affects. Okay, so I hope I made a point that who is there in the audience, their age. First thing is that who is there in the audience, you can very well understand. Okay, teaching a second standard student is different from teaching a 12th standard student. Explaining a concept to a person who went to school, and explaining a concept to a person, to a group of people who never went to school, is different. So who is audience? Their level of knowledge, their level of education, their level of exposure, the kind of language that they understand. Okay, your language also will change, isn't it? So maybe you can use local language to get the attention, to get the, this audience connect. Students have mentioned that student connect is important. So that's how you get student connect, when you use their language. Okay, when you use examples that they connect with. So that's how who is important, and the number of the audience is also important. So ask these questions: that what is the purpose that I'm, at the end of the day, what my audience will do? They will vote me, they will stop chopping trees, they will submit their assignment, what they are going to do, and how many of them, what is their age, whether they will be able to understand the language or not. Okay, see, the thing is that the kind of language that I use with you, because we are meeting for more than 1 year, I won't be using the same kind of language for a group of people whom I am meeting for the first time. Okay, maybe my sentences will be shorter, my sentences will be simpler. Okay, and time and again I'll cross check that whether they are with me or not. But then after 1 year, I know you as the audience. So that's how your knowledge about the audience matter. And then the next deliver the presentation. Okay, I mean, it's an open space, it's a room, with a projector, the audio works, the video works, the projector does not work, the microphone does not work. Not only that, also the seating arrangement. Okay, so it's a narrow, long room, or it's a kind of scattered kind of thing. Okay, there are many front benches. So if there are many front benches, the size of my font will be different. Maybe my size, I can keep the font size little smaller. But imagine it's a narrow room with one single column. Okay, so there are 3 people in the front bench, 3 people in the second bench, 3 people in the next bench. So that's how students are sitting. So you can understand that the last bench will be far away from me. So in that case, I have to keep my font bigger. I can't keep too many points on one particular slide, because the bottom part of the slide won't be visible from the last bench. Because as I told you, the architecture, the sitting arrangement is also important. It's also possible that you are there at the center and your audience is seated in a circle. So in that case, maybe it's not a very good idea to use slide, because you won't be able to probably move the screen too much. Okay, so first thing is that where you are going to deliver the presentation. Okay, they will be seated on the floor, they will be seated on the chairs, or how much of technical support you have. Do they have electricity? Do they have PowerPoint presentation? Does the microphone work? What is the seating arrangement? Okay, it's the physical setting of the place of presentation. It's an open air thing, it's a closed space. What kind of place you are